Real leathers, 150 a piece. Come on,
Okay, guys,
jackets.
let's see the vendor's permit.
What? Oh, yeah. Yes, right here.
Let's see it. Well, call your friend back here, please.
Yeah.
Good day and good night. Welcome to the High and Low Retrospective, where we press rewind and play back the shows that left such an indelible mark it might as well have been stitched into the seams of your favorite tribal entity, whether they were short-lived cult favorites or long-running cultural touchstones. Today we're diving into an HBO series that had all the makings of a classic but never got the time to truly fly, How to Make It in America. A spiritual cousin to the HBO hit Entourage, this show traded in the Hollywood glitz for the gritty grind or grit and grind of New York's fashion scene, capturing the hustle of young entrepreneurial creatives trying to make their mark. But why did How to Make It in America end after just 2 seasons? Was it simply ahead of its time, or did it fall victim to the shifting priorities of HBO? Let's jump into the beginnings and the middle of How to Make It in America and how it ironically did not make it in America. Sorry, I couldn't help myself.
What did you say?
Anyway, let's get into it. By the late 2000s, The Sopranos was long gone, Entourage was winding down, and HBO was on the hunt for its next cultural phenomenon. The network had already mastered the art of aspirational storytelling with Sex and the City and Entourage, but it wanted something that spoke to the next generation of dreamers, those grinding their way to success rather than living in excess. Enter Ian Edelman, a writer and producer with a vision for a show that encapsulated the entrepreneurial spirit of young New Yorkers. He pitched How to Make It in America as a modern-day American dream story, one rooted in creativity, side hustles, and the struggle to break through. HBO bought in, and the series premiered on February 14, 2010, with Mark Wahlberg and Steven Levinson, the duo behind Entourage, attached as executive producers. Where Entourage chronicled the perks of success, How to Make It in America focused on the struggle to get there. It was less about luxury and more about the daily grind, hustling in the streets of New York rather than cruising through the streets of Beverly Hills. The show followed Ben Epstein and Cam Calderon, two 20-somethings trying to break into the fashion industry with their upstart denim brand Crisp. Unlike Carrie Bradshaw in Sex and the City or Vincent Chase and his crew in Entourage, Ben and Cam weren't basking in success, they were chasing it, hustling, scraping together every dollar, and networking in the hopes of making it big in the city that never sleeps. Ben Epstein, played by Brian Greenberg, is a struggling graphic designer and aspiring entrepreneur, the more level-headed of the duo, trying to navigate the fine line between risk and responsibility. Cam Calderon, portrayed by Victor Rasuk, his best friend and business partner, is the street-savvy hustler, always scheming to find a way to get ahead. Cam's cousin, Rene Calderon, played by the legendary character actor Luis Guzman, is an ex-con trying to reinvent himself as an energy drink mogul, adding an extra layer of grit to the series. Meanwhile, Ben's ex-girlfriend, Rachel Chapman, played by one of my favorite actresses, the multi-talented Lake Bell, has moved on but remains a presence in Ben's life, complicating his personal growth, allegedly. David Capo Kaplan, played by Eddie K. Thomas, is a privileged yet well-connected friend of the duo, offering them access to high society despite his awkward demeanor. Lastly, Domingo Brown, played by Scott Mescudi, aka Kid Cudi, a laid-back hustler with connections all over the city, marked rapper-singer Kid Cudi's first major acting role. Each character represented a different facet of the New York hustle, and their interconnected journeys painted a picture of ambition, struggle, and fleeting success. How to Make It in America had all the ingredients of a long-running hit. It was stylish with a creative aesthetic. It was fast-paced and set in a vibrant, bustling version of New York City that felt real and authentic. Critics praised the show's writing and realistic portrayal of young creatives, comparing it to Entourage with a grittier, more grounded perspective. The soundtrack, featuring indie and hip-hop artists like Alloy Black, whose song I Need a Dollar became the show's theme, added to the show's aura and vibe. When that piano hit, you knew it was time. The music choices perfectly complemented the show's aesthetic, blending emerging underground sounds with mainstream appeal. Think Euphoria before Euphoria. Euphoria definitely borrowed a few things from the How to Make It in America playbook, not gonna lie. Coincidentally, Euphoria was created by Sam Levinson, but no relation to How to Make It in America's Stephen Levinson. I don't know why I made that correlation, but anyway, let's move on. In addition to the official soundtrack, HBO released curated mixtapes at the time, further cementing the series' cultural connection to the fashion and music scenes of early 2010s New York. These mixes helped amplify the show's influence, making it a vibe beyond just the screen. Despite positive buzz from many critics and a dedicated fan base, ratings were never stellar. The show aired during a transitional period for HBO, sandwiched between Entourage's final season and the rise of Game of Thrones. With viewership numbers lower than expected, HBO pulled the plug just after 2 seasons, canceling the series in late 2011. Mark Wahlberg later mentioned in interviews that he explored the idea of bringing the series to another network, though it ultimately never materialized. Meanwhile, Lake Bell reflected in an interview that it would have been great to give the show some closure, acknowledging its abrupt ending left some storylines unresolved. HBO cited low ratings as the primary reason for the series cancellation, but there were other factors at play. Unlike Entourage, which thrived on escapist fantasy, How to Make It in America was more of a slow burn, showcasing the grind without immediate payoffs. It was a show about the struggle, the come up, rather than the perpetual bask in the fruits of one's off-screen labor. And that's a harder sell compared to the wish fulfillment storytelling of its predecessors. Additionally, while the show had critical support, it lacked the volume of water cooler moments that drive long-term engagement. With HBO shifting focus to high-concept dramas and genre series, How to Make It in America didn't fit the network's evolving brand strategy. Looking back, How to Make It in America feels ahead of its time. In today's world of influencer culture, side hustles, and startup fever, the series would likely resonate even more. Shows like Atlanta have proven that stories about entrepreneurs and creatives navigating success can thrive when given the right platform and enough time to cook. And with platforms like TikTok and Instagram driving brand building in ways unimaginable in 2010, the show's themes of grassroots entrepreneurship would have been more relevant than ever. If it debuted today, it could have leaned into digital marketing, influencer collaborations. Where Entourage leaned on Hollywood cameos, How to Make It in America could further lean into appearances by some contemporary designers like Fear of God's Jerry Lorenzo or Ronnie Fike, who's the founder of Kith. The series also holds up visually and tonally. Its depiction of New York's streetwear scene, its multifaceted cast, its realistic portrayal of the grind, making it feel fresh even today. The show was shot beautifully, great sound design, and it had an incredible soundtrack, as I mentioned earlier. While it never had the chance to fully blossom, it remains a cult favorite among those who discovered it. And in today's landscape where streetwear is king, it might have had the viral momentum needed to survive. Despite its short run, How to Make It in America left a lasting impression. It captured a specific moment in time, a pre-social media era where success wasn't measured in followers but in real-world hustle. The show became a time capsule of early 2010 street culture, influencing both fashion and storytelling. Its depiction of young entrepreneurs striving for a break foreshadowed the rise of influencer-driven brand building and startup culture that dominates today. While it never reached Entourage-level fame, its DNA can be seen in modern narratives about ambition, creativity, and the ever-elusive dream of making it big. So that's the High and Low Retrospective on How to Make It in America, a show that captured the grind, the hustle, and the dream of making it in New York, only to disappear before it truly had its moment. Whether you think it was ahead of its time or rightfully short-lived, one thing is certain: it left a lasting impression on those who watched it. If you haven't seen it, or it's been a while, it's worth revisiting. Rewatch it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us again for more deep dives into the shows, the movies, and the music that define generations. Until next time, stay curious, stay nostalgic, keep hustling, and remember,
money comes and goes, teachers come and go. Sometimes there's greater forces at work than we're aware of. You know what I mean? You just gotta roll with those punches.